Good morning, George Peabody School. Well, we are getting very, very close to the end of the year. And I was thinking back to all of the lessons and all the videos I've made for you this year. And I thought maybe there were some nuggets in these videos. Maybe there were some words of advice that I could give you for the summer that could be helpful to you. And I tried to pull out my favorites. Do you remember some of the videos that were your favorites? And I came up with five. And so I wanted to give you my top five, but maybe you have a different top five, but I thought I'd give you mine. Okay, here we go. So these are the, and I have maybe some other favorite moments from the videos that I made for you this year, but these are the five that I think could be the most useful for you as you head into summer. Okay. All right. So here's my list and I'll read them to you. So the first is the keys to communication. Now, this is way back in the beginning of the year, back in the fall of 2020. We were all at home. We were not going into school, none of us. And I was showing you these keys every week. Remember, we had one a week. And I definitely have my favorite keys. And I'll show you a few of them. So I definitely love key 4, which is be brave and redo hurtful moments. No, it's not. Key 4 is use words that help instead of hurt. I was going to say, that doesn't sound right. Okay, use words that help instead of hurt. And I really think this is a good one for family members when you want to call your sibling a mean word, or maybe you're at camp or you're with a friend and you just want to call them a word, right? You just want to say something mean. But does it really help? Does it make the problem smaller or bigger? It usually makes the problem bigger, right? So I love this one. Use words that help instead of hurt. And you can teach this one to your family members too. Okay, and then I love key 5, which is be brave and redo hurtful moments. Now, this is the one that is all about making apologies. And you know, this is a tough one to do, making apologies, right? This is one that is really tough because to make apologies means that you have to be really brave. And you have to admit that you're wrong, or you have to admit that you messed up, and you have to ask for a redo. And you have to redo those hurtful moments. And you need to be able, and you can't, rewind and make everything go away, but you can at least say, I'm really sorry. I really messed up. Do you think that I can have a redo? And I'm sorry usually includes something like, I'm sorry that I called you that name. That must have felt really awful. Or I'm really sorry if that had happened to me, I would feel badly too. I'm sorry's don't usually include things like, well, I'm sorry if you felt bad, right? If someone felt bad, then we apologize for our part, right? Sometimes it's the other person had a part too, but we just apologize for our part. Okay, and then finally, maybe my favorite key 7, assume the best. If somebody's having a rough day, maybe they're just having a hard time, and we just want to assume the best that, it maybe has nothing to do with us. If somebody left us out of a game, assume the best that they weren't intentionally leaving us out. If you're at camp and, it was not a great first day, assume the best. Tomorrow's a new day. We can start over, and maybe tomorrow is a new day. Maybe last time you saw your cousins, you didn't have a great time, but you're seeing them again this summer. Maybe assume the best. It'll be a good time this time around. Okay. Here we go. Number 2. This was a recent one. Having good conversations. Remember that video I made just a couple weeks ago about all the different ways that you can have good conversations with people? So not being a conversation hog, asking the other person something about themselves, right? Maybe going back and forth. Maybe saying something like, if someone tells you a little bit about them, you might say, oh, wow, yeah, I tried that too. Or, oh, you like reading? Oh, I'm not really into reading yet, but I really want to be. What books do you like? So you ask follow-up questions to show that you're interested in knowing more about the other person. And when someone does that, doesn't it feel really good when someone asks you a question about yourself? It really shows that they care. So when you do that to someone else, it really shows that you care, that you're interested, that you are curious about that person. And then they might want to get to know you better. They might want to be more curious about you. So that back and forth is a super important part of having conversations. Okay, I loved this one. I went back in my videos and found number 3. How big is your problem? 0 to 5. Do you remember this? Oh, this one's come up a lot. I've had parents talk to me about this, teachers. So this is the one where, remember, like you don't have your pencil. Do you have a gigantic tantrum about not having a pencil? No, that's like a glitch or a tiny problem. That's where you would learn to figure out how you solve that problem. This is the whole reminder about figuring out how to solve your own problem, figuring out what size is your problem. This is a tiny problem. What would be a solution to not having a pencil? Ask for a pencil, right? Can you borrow a pencil? Yeah, you can usually borrow a pencil. The next day, are you going to pack a couple of extra pencils? Having a backup pencil would be good. Yeah. Okay. And then also it helps you with perspective, right? Because having this pandemic, it really reminds us what a big problem is, what a gigantic problem is. And it affected people differently, didn't it? Right? Some people lost jobs. Some people lost housing. Other people weren't as affected. Some people were um, able to be safe in their homes, had enough food, had other hardships, definitely, but didn't lose people, didn't lose jobs, had enough food. So the same big problem affected people differently. So this is really important in our ability to have take perspective and have a perspective about a situation so that we can respond appropriately. Okay. Number 4, goal setting. So we did this back in January. We set some goals for the year and we came up with some lists for a list, because me and my lists, right? School, family, self. And so I thought maybe it would be great for you to make one for the summer to get into the groove with figuring out what you want to do for the summer. So maybe you want a couple of goals to keep up with your academics this summer. What goals do you want? So I just have a couple here. They might be like learning your multiplication tables or getting really solid with those. This says read 3 chapter books. Maybe if you're just learning to read, working on your letters recognition or practicing letter sounds or reading your first book all on your own. Listening to audiobooks, something like that. Maybe you have some goals around that. Family, this says learn to cook a meal with grandma. Maybe grandma has some awesome recipes. Maybe you want to learn one of them this summer. Or start doing chores. Maybe you don't do chores yet in your family and you think this summer you could take some on. Self, maybe you want to learn how to do the monkey bars. Maybe you want to learn to tie your shoes this summer. So think about that. Okay, so setting some goals. And finally, number 5, say something. I read a book maybe a month ago called Say Something. And it was about finding our voice and knowing when the time is right for us to be upstanders. There are so many opportunities in our world right now where our voice is needed. And sometimes when it's important to sit back and listen, it's important. We have seen so much happening in our world in this past year that we have been together during this pandemic. Today, as I'm making this video, it's been a year since we lost George Floyd, since he was murdered. We have seen so many people in our Asian and Pacific Islander community being targeted by racist acts, and we want to make sure that we are all looking out for each other. How can we be allies? How can we be upstanders? How can we say something? So knowing how to do it in a way that we feel safe doing it. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but knowing how to be upstanders, we have been learning about this, knowing how to use our big hearts to do that. So we read that book, and you can always go back and watch that video again. That book that I read to you about that can give you some ideas. I hope you all have a wonderful summer. I'll probably do a quick video again next week, but I wanted to give you my top 5. What's your top 5? And would any of these strategies help you this summer? What other ones? I would love to hear some of your other ideas for some of the strategies that we came up with this year that might help you this summer to make it enjoyable, fun, exciting, productive. Most of all, I hope you have fun and have a safe one with your families. I will really miss you. And we wish our fifth graders all the best. But again, I'll be back for a quick video next week. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.